The rain fell in a gentle, relentless curtain, turning the city into a blur of grey. At a bus stop on a quiet corner, Lena Harper stood beneath a sagging awning, her worn canvas backpack clutched tightly. Her sneakers, faded and fraying at the seams, were soaked, the cold seeping into her toes. She barely noticed. Another job interview had slipped through her fingers, leaving her with the familiar sting of rejection. Lena was used to the ache of damp clothes, blistered feet, and the quiet judgment in strangers' glances. What hurt more was the growing fear that no matter how hard she fought, the world might never give her a chance. Lena had arrived in Chicago 3 years ago, her heart alight with dreams of becoming a textile designer. She wanted to create fabrics that told stories of survival, hope, and quiet strength. Her grandmother, who'd raised her, used to say that every thread in a piece of cloth held a memory. Lena believed it, carrying that wisdom in the small sketchbook where she poured her designs. But dreams didn't pay bills. Instead of weaving patterns in a studio, Lena worked late nights at a small diner, serving coffee and pie to tired customers, her sketchbook tucked away in her locker. Her one treasure was a pair of sneakers her grandmother had given her. They were old, scuffed, with laces knotted from years of use. Lena wore them to every interview, every shift, every moment that mattered. They were her anchor, a reminder of the woman who taught her to keep going. Customers sometimes stared, their eyes lingering on the worn soles, but Lena held her head high. Those sneakers had carried her grandmother through hard times, and now they carried her. One rainy evening, as Lena wiped down tables after a long shift, a lone customer sat by the diner's window. He was in his late 20s, dressed in a simple jacket, his dark hair damp from the rain. His name was Marcus Reed, a regular who always ordered black coffee and left a tip larger than his bill. That night he lingered, his eyes tracing the raindrops on the glass. When Lena asked if he needed a refill, he looked up and smiled, a real smile, warm and unguarded. "Rough day?" he asked. Lena hesitated. Customers rarely asked about her, but something in Marcus's quiet curiosity made her answer. She told him about her love for textiles, her grandmother's stories, the sketches she hid away. He listened, not with pity, but with a kind of respect that made her feel seen. When he left, he said, "Your designs sound like they could change the way people see the world. Don't give up on them." Marcus started coming to the diner more often, always at the same corner booth. They'd talk during her breaks, small conversations that grew into something deeper. He never pushed, never made her feel less than. Lena kept her struggles private, the overdue rent, the eviction notices, but Marcus seemed to understand without her saying a word. One morning, the diner buzzed with news of a big event, a meeting for a local fashion startup. Lena worked double time, her sneakers squeaking on the polished floor as she balanced trays of coffee and pastries. When Marcus walked in, she froze. He wasn't just a regular, he was leading the meeting, the founder of a rising textile brand she'd once applied to, her portfolio lost in a sea of emails. Her hands shook as she served his table, her heart sinking under the weight of missed chances. A woman at the table, dressed in sharp designer clothes, noticed Lena's sneakers and smirked. "Serving coffee in those," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "They've seen better days." The table chuckled, and Lena's face burned. She mumbled an apology, her voice barely a whisper. "They're all I have." Marcus stood, his presence commanding the room. "Those shoes have more story than anything you're wearing," he said, his voice steady but sharp. "They belong to someone who doesn't give up. That's worth more than your judgment." The laughter died. Lena's eyes strung with tears, not from shame, but from the unexpected weight of being defended. After that day, Marcus became more than a customer. He asked to see her sketches, insisting she had a gift. Lena was reluctant, scarred by years of rejection, but his quiet encouragement broke through. One evening, she handed him her sketchbook, her hands trembling. Marcus studied the pages, bold patterns inspired by her grandmother's life, woven with pain and resilience. "These are alive," he said. "The world needs to see them." Weeks later, he invited her to his studio. Lena thought it was a kind gesture, nothing more, but when she arrived, a small team was waiting. Marcus had shared her designs, and they wanted to prototype her work. "You're not just a dreamer, Lena," he said. "You're a designer." Tears fell as she stood in the studio, surrounded by her sketches pinned to the walls. Marcus handed her a small box. Inside were her grandmother's sneakers, carefully restored, the soles repaired, the canvas cleaned, but the spirit untouched. These carried you here, he said. Now let them carry you forward. Lena's first collection, Threads of Time, launched months later to quiet acclaim. Each fabric told a story of endurance, with patterns that echoed the strength of worn things made beautiful again. At the launch, amid flashing cameras and soft applause, Lena's eyes found Marcus. He stood at the back, a proud smile on his face, not as her rescuer, but as her believer. Later, they stood outside under the city's glow, the rain falling softly again. Lena looked at her reflection in a shop window, her grandmother's sneakers still on her feet. She laughed, wiping a tear. "These old things got me pretty far," she said. Marcus handed her a coffee, his smile warm. "They didn't just get you far, they brought you home."